Hi, it's Drew Tignanelli. This is our March 2026 update. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing great. We're in the thick of tax season and things are cranking right along.
And you had your next snowstorm again, and so you should
I think
be
we're all done
beginning
with it.
the big thaw, right?
Well, we hope so. I mean, at the time we're shooting this video is few days before the beginning of March, and they're calling for one more round. So hopefully that they're wrong.
That is true. Thank God you're not in New York or New Jersey or Rhode Island. I heard they got 33 inches in Rhode Island from a client. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. We had some people that were traveling down here to our Hunt Valley office. They couldn't make it because there's no flights out of New York.
well,
So
anyway, Mike, we're doing our Pulse update. Then, so what are some of the articles, videos that we've got coming out?
sure. So the article coming out in the beginning of this month is retirement tax planning mistakes or retirement tax planning mistake, a hidden $10,000 missed-deduction surprise. And that was written by Graham Ewing based on a situation he dealt with at some point. And then we also have a video coming out this week or this month, tax mistakes financial advisors often miss. And that's by Chris O'Shea.
Yeah, yeah, taxes, taxes, taxes. Anything we can do to lower our taxes, and I call a lot of these invisible losses, Mike, where you make a mistake and you never think of it that you did a mistake, and all of a sudden you never realize that you lost $10,000. That's why
Yeah,
education, knowledge, dealing with people who are going to have the best opportunity to catch those mistakes. That's how you prevent invisible losses.
absolutely.
So,
So looking at the markets for what we're seeing right now, consumer confidence is showing modest improvement in February. But there is a lot of attitudes about the future of business conditions, and people kind of remain cautious. The consumer price index remains stable. I know some people will hear us say that and say, "What do you mean?" Because a lot of people are seeing, rising costs in energy in certain markets. But the way they calculate CPI, the consumer price index overall, it is staying fairly stable.
actually went down. And when you say energy, you're specifically referring to gas and electric
Correct.
because gasoline obviously is pretty low right now. It's
Yeah,
the
we're talking
lowest it's
about
been.
home energy prices has been a big topic in the markets, and that certainly is visible. And there's a lot of talk in government about how to deal with that. But
And a lot
um,
of times that deals with each state and to how they handle their utilities and so forth, and some of the extra surcharges and taxes they put on energy, et cetera. So
yeah,
it's a market by market because down here where I am, I haven't had any problem with significant increases in gas and electric at home.
yeah, I think it's also being largely affected by where people are putting these data centers. So not to
Oh,
stay too far from
that can
that
probably
topic,
make a big difference
not
too.
really a good place to put data centers in Texas. A little too warm down there. So tech stocks are seeing more volatility as the we start the year, and artificial intelligence is a top of matter discussion as far as how those tech stocks go.
Yeah, well, artificial intelligence is going to be interesting how it gets implemented and so forth. I think that the ultimate end is going to be better than anyone right now can appreciate. I think it's very similar to the Industrial Revolution, where everyone thought they were going to all lose their jobs and machines were going to take over everything. I think you're going to find the same thing with AI right now. Right
Yeah,
now.
there's a lot of people making quotes about the dot-com area where they said all retail institutions would be gone within 5 years. And here we are almost 20 years later, and we still have some retail organizations. So it's just definitely going to be, a major impact or a major role, but,
And the
not maybe.
companies that were the dot coms are now building physical retail centers like Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big topics, and this is a bit in the weeds, but we'll try to cover it here, is, a lot of people are saying as far as the S&P 500 goes, that based on current price as measured by the price to earnings ratio of the companies inside the S&P 500, the market is indicating maybe slightly lower expected returns over the next 10 years. And this is a healthy reason for diversification and also why we've been in international markets and why that's still an important part of a portfolio.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You need
another
to be diversified.
Yeah, another big thing to look at in the markets as we do the beginning of this year is how small caps have performed. So small caps have been outperforming as of the beginning of this year. So yet another reason that we don't keep everything in the S&P 500.
Yep.
Um, there are some other headlines that are driving fear about private credit, but we kind of remain confident in the way we invest with private credit, the protection we get from direct lending, though we are watching the private credit markets and we'll wait to see if the weakness worsens out there.
I I don't see any problems at this point in time with private credit. People like Jamie Dimon, it's a self-interest that he goes around talking negatively about it because private credit is eating the bank's lunch. It's this was what they're doing is taking the place of bank lending in a lot of these deals. And the big bank chairmen don't like that. Jamie Dimon being the foremost one, chairman of J.P. Morgan. So it's in their interest to say private credit is a problem.
Absolutely.
I don't see it yet. It might come a day, but not at this point in time.
So we're getting into the beginning of the new year. As you said at the beginning of the video, we're hoping to put the snow behind us and look for the thaw and the warmer weather in front of us. And as we try to make these videos kind of timely and adjusting to the time, to the seasons and the time of the year, it's spring cleaning. And your personal finance should also get a spring cleaning. One of the things that we see a lot of times, especially as people go to, move later in life or things like that, is the amount of old documentation they keep. So, Drew, when it comes to tax returns, about how, like, what should you keep?
Well, technically, Mike, if you're a client of ours, you probably don't need to keep hardly anything because when they give us their documents and we do their tax return, we've already stored it all electronically and we put it in their client portal. So to keep paper at home is, how many times have, our clients who are listening, how many times have you gone back into the paper files for your tax return, your tax documents to try to find something? And the answer is I don't think I've ever done it. Anytime I need something, I go into my client folder with the consulate and I find it electronically stored there. You
Well, the
know,
only caveat I'll add there is that we do say, unless you've given it to us and we've scanned them in, that if you're keeping track of your charitable giving receipts, those are things you want to keep for a little while, at least
if
3 years.
you've done fairly significant charitable giving, if
Yeah.
you only did a few thousand.
Not that thing from the Goodwill that the guy at the corner signs at the bottom.
But if a client did a lot of charitable giving, chances are we scanned all those documents in because we know we might need them and we want to be sure we have them. So,
But
but it's 3 years is the general rule, Mike. 3 years.
3 years is a general. The other thing that you can really do to benefit is if you find yourself with some extra time this spring, go through those file cabinets and those storage boxes and whatever else and just see, I just did it for myself recently and found, user manuals to things I don't own anymore and real estate documents from from a house I don't own anymore and all those types of things. It's really great to be able to purge those items and because old documentation is rarely a legacy worth leaving.
After my father passed away, I spent 2 days with my mother going through his file cabinets, and I'd say there was like 5 pieces of paper that I needed.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, for the people listening, if we do our own documents, it's going to take us a lot less time than it's going to take somebody else to do them. So
Right.
consider
I
that
agree.
as a spring cleaning item.
A great thing to do for your children.
And then, this should probably be done more often than just the spring, but the spring is a great time to go through and do a detailed review of all the transactions and your credit cards as well as your checking accounts. One of the things that, the economy has really been shifting towards is subscription businesses. And those subscriptions can get hard to keep track of. I mean, there are some things, some TV subscriptions, you might subscribe to them on Amazon and then subscribe to them directly as well. So it's really good to, regularly go through all your credit card and checking account transactions, as well as go to places like your Amazon account or your Apple Store account and look for any subscriptions there just to make sure that that Duolingo account that's renewing annually you still want to keep or whatever it might be.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to do that, go back to Apple and say, "Where's this $10 a month coming from?"
Yeah.
Can you cancel it? And they
Invisible
get
losses,
retro.
Drew, just like you talked about at the top of the video.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And subscriptions, you're right. Subscriptions are great and they're sinister all at the same time.
All right. Well, one of the last items that we wanted to highlight is, it's easy to collect accounts, accounts at financial institutions you may not use very often. And this is a great time to go through and say, do I really still need that credit union account that I opened 20 years ago with $20? Or whatever it might be. What's the common one you see, Drew?
Old 401ks, 403bs, I think that's the worst. And old transfer agents, computer share, EQ share owners, people just leave things there, and it's like that is the worst group to have to deal with, especially if you passed away. Leaving something at a transfer agent like computer share and having the
Mhm.
family have to deal with them, it's just miserable. So old 401ks, old 403bs, transfer agents, get them consolidated in one simple place. Don't let them sit out there.
Now, the only thing that I'll add on to that as an exception is you always want to be careful when closing old credit accounts. Credit card you've had for a long time, something like that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you should at least be thoughtful about it because one of the things that makes up your credit score is your credit age. And sometimes just because you don't use that, card, that ExxonMobil gas card anymore or whatever, if it's still open and it's adding to your credit age, maybe you don't keep all those types of accounts open, but you might want to keep some to at least keep your average credit age above about 10 years.
Yeah, they dinged me once about, I don't know, 20 some years ago because I looked through and I said these things are all old and I got rid of them. Next thing I know, they dinged my credit
Yeah,
report, and it's
that'll
like,
happen.
really? I however they do credit scoring, Mike, is still in the dark ages, you know,
Absolutely.
because I've run my credit card balance up and they slam my credit score down. And I pay it off at the end of 30 days and then they pop it back up again. And it's like, and they do this two, three, four times a year. And it's like, really? Did I really change that much? You can't figure this out? Anyway,
Absolutely.
it's a weird, weird system. Anyway, that's everything we had, right?
That's it.
That was it for March 2026. This is Drew Tignanelli saying God bless.